All right, good morning, everybody. Today we are going to cover my morning setup. So, what I do every morning after I wake up to kind of dictate my direction in the market, how I set up my watch list, and how we proceed from there. So, I will be recording this. I will be posting it to the Rip Global YouTube channel. I will be posting it in the Discord server. So, if anybody sees anybody ask any of those questions, please just tell them the answer is yes. The answer is always yes. I don't need to answer that 1,000 times after this. So first thing that I do in the morning is you want to zoom out to your daily time frame. These indicators, I don't really use shit. The only thing I really look at is volume. I've just been fucking with things before people start asking about that. I used to use some TTM squeeze stuff. Don't really need to anymore. I can just visually see consolidation. So I remove that just to make my life easier. If you're newer to trading or you still don't have confidence to see that, continue to use it. It is something that's good to have on there, but I do not currently. So when we're looking out at our daily, the number one thing that we want to see is we really need to establish what our overall direction and trend is. So you can have multiple trend lines. Like you're always going to exist within multiple trend lines. Like you could be inside of a channel on the daily, but you could be on an upward channel on the 15-minute. Like you have trend lines in trend lines. So giving yourself possibilities on what trend line you might use is always going to be super helpful. I actually use a few different drawing sets, as you can see, to kind of help me establish this, just to keep it clean. Like if I'm just dealing with trend, I don't need all of my levels on there. If I'm actually working on my, entries, exits, I like to have this shit here. Whereas my overall trend stuff doesn't really help me quite as much. So a little pro tip. If we zoom out to the daily for today, you can see that we are still in a very clear downtrend, right? So we have our high over in January, and I don't have it on this time frame. What we can start to do is we can see where we're at currently and what the points are doing. So we might have a potential trend line from the top here going through the next high. This could end up somewhere over here. This isn't really relevant today. There's no way we're gapping up to 430, so that's not really important. Then we can go and see, well, what other trend lines do we have? So we can go through this point down and see if there's anything that we might be touching. Well, boom, boom. Hey, look, we have some relevance here. So this is what I was talking about when I'm saying confluence, right? So confluence is when you have the stacking of certain probabilities that they all just kind of layer up, and on multiple time frames this is even better. So if we're drawing a trend line in this morning and we go boom boom and it's ending somewhere over at the top of our gap fill range, that's confluence. That means we have a trend line and the top of the gap fill. So where I will be looking today for major resistance if we move up is going to be right around 401. This is going to change based on time frame and when we actually start to get there. So I'd like to see something over in this range. So if we go back to the 15, you can see kind of where this is going. We're going to be right under it. So if we do get to the top of the gap fill, this area, I can expect a little bit of resistance. Over this, we're going to be able to go up. So we know we have a downtrend. We know that we're nearing the top of this one downtrend. Just something to be aware of. So after I kind of get that, it's just quick, dirty, hey, we're under this, we're over that. I move into my levels and I really get down and dirty with how I'm going to look at this. So like I tried to explain yesterday, looking at the trend lines that you've followed over the previous days is going to be very helpful to you. When I was trying to explain this blue line that we were following, we actually did kind of respect it yesterday as well. So we have this low, right? We bounce pre-market. Next day, we bounce. Next day, it becomes resistance because we come up pre-market, bounce off of it. We come down. We establish what could potentially be a new trend line, right? So now we're existing within these two. So you can space these out. You can tell that they're both valid because not only did we hold this for several days, we also rejected it. And then this became the main trend line that I'm looking at for support. It all stems from the same spot. So just, don't limit yourself to one trend line. You can have multiple things forming from one single point. They can all be valid. I think that there is a fine line between having too much shit on your chart and not having enough. But trend lines, multi-day trend lines, definitely a very key part. I'm going to remove some of this to clean it up. Bugging me. Key part of determining your trade plan for the next day. There we go. Okay. So like I was saying, after I know that I'm kind of approaching the top of my downtrend line, I know that my gap fill zone is right around here. I can expect some pretty solid resistance moving up between 400 to 402.6. I just keep that kind of mental until something on the chart shows it to me. I just know that up here could be some fuckery. From there, I do exactly what I was showing you when I was doing the written breakdown. I look at my high of day yesterday. You can either make this the dollar value line. For just the intraday lines, I tend to just literally just draw a straight line across so they're visible. So high of day, low of day, close of day is high of day. So these two lines kind of match up. Pre-market high, it looks like that we're going to go and touch 399 right here. So I'm just going to leave this for the time being. And pre-market low, which falls around 3980, I believe, on SPX. So right now I have my main levels I'm looking at. I have a range. Somebody has their mic on. If you could shut that off, please. I have my main range that I'm looking for to kind of take my first entry of the day over the previous high or under the 3980 level. I can start to evaluate the situation. So if I go and I take this over to SPX or futures, let's say, just to get the contracts, I know that right now we're sitting at about 4,000. So 4 contracts that I can add to my watch list. One sec, sorry, somebody has their mic on and it's bugging the shit out of me. Where are you? Okay, you might have heard me. Nope. Where are you? I don't know where you are, but I can't mute you for some reason. Sorry. So what we're looking at here, we know that we're right around 4,000. So on our watch list, we can go ahead and add probably 40, 50 call for today. If you're in SPY, you can add 400 call, 402 call. So let's see if I can do this without fucking everything up here. Forty, 50 for today. That's watch list. 4100's already on there because I got clicked on those for now. Okay, so after I kind of have my levels established, right? I have my high, I have my pre-market low, I have my low of day. These are my main bounce points, right? On top of my daily levels, I have obviously my 395.6 still going to be there. That was the major point that we used to bounce going into our end of day run. Those are all still going to be valid. I can extend my trend lines out. So if anything that I used on the previous day, which would be this blue line, as well as the bottom line that we've bounced off of, we can start to extend these out. No, okay. Just to kind of get a better idea, this is going to fall. Basically, what this is going to tell me, if I move this up, we're going to stay in this range so long as we don't break 3980. So these aren't really going to do too much today by the looks of it. Okay, so when I'm looking at this now, I have my levels there, I have my trend lines, I have a general idea of what happened yesterday. We dipped down, we bounced. and then rip back up, I can start to look for major supply and demand zones or areas of rejection from the previous day and see if they carry over into something like today. The way that I do this, and what people were asking me, I don't really have much experience with supply and demand zones. I haven't watched a video. This is just kind of what I've been doing, and it has been working for me. So maybe that's just a coincidence. On the 15-minute or the 5-minute or the 30-minute, the larger the time frame, the better. I look for strong moves in one direction with a very strong move in the opposite direction, with the high and low or low and high matching, right? So at our close yesterday, we ripped up, right? The candle after that, even though it tried to move up, it didn't actually close above where we opened. It didn't gap up also either. So I tend to take something like this and I draw a box from the very high all the way back to the wick. And then this becomes, or the base of the candle, and you can do this in reverse. This is a, we go down, we bounce back up. That's what I did over here. So now I have a supply and demand zone, which this would be supply right around 398.8 going up to 399. So that means that if we come into here and we do not break 399.03, we do not break the high of this, it is likely that we will start to come down. So we go in, we wick in this zone, we move down. So that's the first thing that I'm looking. I have that zone now at my open. I will start watching to see what happens. I don't play, and I used to take open plays all the fucking time. It's actually been a lot better for me lately. I don't know if it's just the market conditions, but waiting 10, 15 minutes for me to kind of gauge direction and then taking a play. We've had really solid moves, so I'm not FOMOing on missing anything the first 10 or 15 minutes, mostly. And then I tend to get, premiums are down. I can visualize what I'm looking at. It's had time to develop a little bit more structure, and then I could take my play. To each their own. I'm not saying that opening plays are bad. I'm just saying if we do get into trading here and we're watching this, it's just how I do it. What else? It's really, it seems super. It's just a lot of really easy things stacked on top of each other. That's why it was kind of a pain in the ass to consider what we're doing and actually writing it down, because it does take a lot to verbalize. But if you were to summarize what we're doing, let me choose if we were to summarize what we're doing, number one is we need to create our levels, right? So we need to take our high, low for the day, the previous day, as well as the high, low of pre-market, make sure that we have those, right? The second thing is trend. So get the trend on a larger time frame, like the daily or the weekly. Make sure that you have those lines set up and ready to go. And then look at your trend from the previous days that are still following. So we are currently in an uptrend, right? We have two different levels that we're looking at, or two different trend lines that we're looking at to dictate this trend. As long as we're at least above one of them, we should remain upwards, because we are touching the very bottom of everything that we have. A break under this trend line probably means that we're going to start flushing back down. Something to be aware of. And then time. So you want to look at where you had these zones of rejection, zones of support the day before. So we know that we were very strong down at 392. We know that we were very strong at 395.6. We know that now we are holding 396.6. So right around 3980 very well, and pushing up at the start of the day. So this is the plan, right? What do you want to do? So now you have these levels, and if you break and hold any of these, your next target is simply the level above. Everybody's like, well, what's my price target? What's my strike? What am I looking for? Literally, if you can trust your levels, and these are just support and resistance zones on larger time frames or large mental numbers, so like 4,000 on SPX, 3950 on SPX, 4050 on SPX, 400 on SPY, like large, really nice, pretty rounded mental numbers. You're just going to look to target that. So right now I'm like, oh, cool. A high of daybreak with a hold, right? So that means that the candle needs to go through it, and then the next candle needs to stay above it. That is a break and hold. I can look for it to target my level that's above it. So just this level happens to be 400. If the stock is down here and I break this level, my next price target is 39, 390, 399. Sorry, it's early. It's really that simple. It's very straightforward. So I'm sure that there's going to be questions, and when we're not rushing around, like I feel like today we're going to either fucking send or absolutely drop. So I don't want to take up too much time just chatting. So I hope that gives a quick rundown of what I'm looking at. We'll cover it more in depth and do more of a Q&A session to make sure that everybody's on the same page. A different day, but that is the breakdown for now. So I'm going to get rid of this. People can refer back to it on the Zoom. I'll upload it. I do want to hop on VC in the Discord though. So I'm going to close this down. We're going to go over there so I can get Michu and maybe Reality if he's awake. I know that he's traveling today. So I will, I'll see you in there and we'll start the live. So I'll post it shortly.